Is this a lifelong love affair with gambling for you, or is it something that's newer?
No, you couldn't bet when you coached. I'm not like an illegal person. So once it became legal, I was like, oh, let me check this out.
Welcome back to another edition of the Business of Betting podcast. I am your host, senior analyst over at InGame, Jeff Edelstein. I am joined today by co-founder and CEO of Rithmm. It's Megan Lanham. Megan, thanks for joining us today.
Jeff, great to be on the show.
We were talking before we hit the record button. You've completely upset my apple cart of what my first question was going to be. So now I have a new first question. Has there been anyone in your life that you've met for the first time that saw your name on paper without hearing it and said Megan instead of Megan?
Yes. Anytime I go to Europe, I'm golden in Europe. In the US, no, it's Megan my whole life.
It's funny. I have a daughter. Her name is Meyer, Meyer. Strange name for her, right? But she's 12 now. But when she was like a little girl, much younger, when anyone would hear her name, they would say Maya, and she'd look them dead in the eye and say, "No, Meyer." And I'm guessing you have much the same story.
Well, I'm so happy to hear your daughter is that direct. When I was growing up, in the 80s and 90s, it was my friends that would be like, no, her name is Megan. And I just kind of let that play out. So, yeah, it's been a big thank you to my parents.
I got one more question about the name. I can't help myself, because Megans of the world will often be shortened to Meg as a nickname. Do you shorten to Meeg? I can't imagine that happens.
Meegs. Lots of Meegs.
All right. Hopefully by the end of our conversation, I've graduated to be able to call you Meegs, and we'll go from there. Listen, here was my first question, and if I have any of this wrong, you'll stop me. But your career path has been, the standard D1, college basketball player, to D1 coach, to running a pharmaceutical recruiting company, to MIT, founding an AI sports sports betting startup. Dime a dozen. So many people have gone down the same path. What makes you different?
At the core of who I am, it's really two things. I love building. Looking back on like my career, the universities I coached at all started out with building. They were all, hey, come in and help us start winning. And those journeys were incredibly fun for me and challenging. And I love a challenge. And then going to startups are challenging. So when I left basketball, I went to a startup, ground floor, sharing desks, garden level office, all of that, all of the real like startup life at that time, and in a very archaic industry, and trying to bring some novelty and innovation to it. And that was a challenge. And it was like, can we grow this and build this and bring this to the world? And so, for me, it's like a challenge to take innovation and get it to a place where there's willingness to pay. Consumers needed this. We solved this. So we solved the problem for them. That's important to me. That's winning. Just like when I was coaching, like we needed to win. How do you solve a losing program? You win. And so that's just been my mentality. And when I get bored, I just try to keep learning and find places I can learn.
I was going to ask a question, and maybe you just answered it. For many people, I would imagine being able to play and coach at the college level, at the D1 level, is like a dream, and to walk away from it is something that most people would be like, no, I would never walk away from that. But did you get bored? Is that what it came down to?
Yeah, it was two things. It wasn't boredom. I felt like the only way I can describe it, it started feeling kind of parochial. And I felt like I did not know what was going on from a worldly view. And I felt like I was getting smaller. When you coach Division I basketball, I mean, it's like a startup, and it's your entire life is built around that. You're on campus all the time. You're not just coaching your own team, you're also supporting every other team at the university. Everything you're doing is part of that university. So you don't really know what's going on in the world. And that kind of I started to feel like I was shrinking. I was like, oh, it's time. Like, let me go see what the world has. And it was a shocker, to be frank, like leaving that. I'd never left campus. I had played and then started coaching. So there were definitely some weird business moments that I didn't quite understand that were very understandable for the rest of the world. It's been a business, but for me, it was like very shocking. But that's why I left, and I loved it. Let me tell you, it was amazing. And walking away was really hard, but I could tell in my gut, I needed to stretch.
Wow, it's impressive, because I've often thought the same thing in my career as a journalist and all this stuff. And I've never stretched because it's scary to stretch. But I mean, to leave everything you know behind, and then you ended up at a recruiting company for the startup was for the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, it was again one of those situations where I did not think I was. This was supposed to be just a like stepping stone, or just like, hey, I'm gonna go over here for. It was obviously one of those. I need you to meet someone in my network. I need you to meet this founder. They have this really interesting concept they're trying to bring into the recruiting world. I didn't know anything. I obviously recruited, but not in this space. And I didn't know that business, that lay of land in the B2B business world at that point. Hey, but the innovation, when I spoke to the founder, I was so struck by, I really loved the idea. I really loved the passion. You know, she was a former Division I soccer player. Her team, she had a small team already, was really incredible. So I came on as a joiner. You know, I had ownership in the company, but wasn't obviously the founder. She came up with this idea. That was appealing to me of like, oh, let's go build. You know, this is interesting. This is innovative. This is another program isn't in great shape. You know, let's build, let's put money into this and grow this. And my thing is when I'm going out to the world with something, it's like, can I personally get behind it? Does it personally make sense to me? Is it solving a consumer issue that would provide like this amazing experience for people, or whatever that is we're solving? And I could get behind it. And I was like really keen to be part of that. This was not supposed to, I really did not think I would. I thought I would go and work at Nike, or, I thought that's where I was headed. But then we started growing and rapidly, and it was an incredible run. And dreams were coming true.
And now you're back, obviously, in the sports industry, tangentially here with Rithmm. From some research I did, like you met the CTO of the company, Brian, at a bar. You guys got to talking, and like the idea kind of like just. I mean, is this truly like sketched out on a napkin, and that's where we're at today?
Well, here's what happened. I was at MIT in business school, and I was in a data models and decisions class doing predictive modeling. That I'm not a quant, but I fell in love with predictive modeling. I had to have a tutor. I was terrified of this class, to be honest. Like everyone in the program was like, wait till you get to data models and DMD, they called it. So we were just all we were all terrified. I was in that class, and we were doing predictive modeling. I was taking that predictive modeling back to the company that I was the CEO at the time and using it to make business decisions. And I was betting on the NBA, though that I literally stopped listening in class and wrote down, like, I also was a fan of Billy Walters. So there was some familiarity with the computer group. And I just was like, okay, why isn't there a product? Okay, professional sports bettors are using predictive models to help them make smarter decisions. What if we could do this in a very simple manner? What if we could bring this complexity to everyday sports bettors and give them something that's really complicated and that they either don't have the ability to do, don't have the time to do, don't have the money to do, all of those things, right? They would, there clearly is a need for this. And I started looking on the market, and like the tools were pretty nerdy. They were definitely driven just for sharps, which makes sense. This is complex. So how do you shrink this down and serve it up in a consumable manner? So that's where the idea came from. So then I was like sitting on this idea, and MIT has an idea lab. You can take your idea and really get it battle tested from every piece of business coming at you. Go to market strategy, all of it. And then at the end, it's like your peers get to like kind of bet on you and say, oh, I bet you're going to make it or not. I mean, it's pretty intense like that. But I'm not a quant. So a buddy of mine has a birthday party. I go there. His wife is like, hey, there's this guy in the corner at the bar. See him over there? He went to MIT too. You should go talk to him. And I did. And then I met Brian Beachkovsky, our CTO and co-founder, and we started chumming it up. And I told him I'm in this modeling class, and he was like, hey, I'm a modeler. And I was like, hey, I have this idea. And he was like, yes, we can do that. Like, he was like, yes. And then I was like, can we add personalization on it? Like, what if I have some background in basketball and I want to try to model, what I did in coaching or playing? He's like, yes, I'm doing modeling. He was in the military doing predictive modeling. He's fantastic. And we just hit it off. And he sent me a note that said, let's go build the best predictive modeling company in the world. But we both had jobs. We both had jobs. And so we couldn't quite do that yet. But it was always, we were like toying around on the weekends together and trying to figure out if we could do this. And obviously we figured it out. Like one weekend we were like, oh my God, we built an MVP and this works. And then we both left our jobs eventually and built a company.
It's an easy recipe. Just be very smart, go to MIT, and presto changeo. you're changing the world. The words AI and sports betting is, not a day goes by anymore where you're not hearing about it in one form or another. I feel like a lot of it is like kind of fugazi, a lot of like nonsense that people are saying is AI that like anybody can with the chat GPT account can play around with. What is going on under the hood at Rithmm that really separates you guys and really leans into the AI portion of it?
We're doing machine learning, like we're doing math modeling. So we're ingesting billions of data points that we're paying for, not scraping. We're paying for these data points and we're ingesting billions of data points. And then obviously we have quants on our team and they're building predictive models on the back end. And then it's layered on Premier engineering that can serve it to people in a manner that is digestible and also dynamic. Because one of the fascinating things, and you will not find this fascinating, people that bet a lot won't find this fascinating. So betting is dynamic. Odds change, lines change, players are in and out. So the model has to recomputate. And we provide that to our users. We don't just say, here's at 10 a.m., here's the pick of the day. This model is having to digest, and as lines move, opening, closing, it's saying, hey, at this time, it found an advantage, an edge. At this time, now it's cautioned. And we put that out there. We know that. We thought everyone knew that. We thought everyone knew how dynamic of a nature this was. And so that's not true. That was one of these things that we learned the hard way. And when we're still learning, that the users that we have, some of them understand that and a lot of them don't. A lot of them are like, hey, this was recommended earlier in the day and now it's not. Like, what is it, And having people understand that has been an interesting learning for us. But that separates us. Like, we've tried to go on Claude. I mean, we're using Claude and chat, but like we're a heavy agent company, heavy. And I can go through all the ways, like some of the ways we're using them. We've tried to build and you can't do that right now. You have to be a data scientist. There's nuances in art. There's art also into modeling that's hard for me to describe here. It's massive math, it's science. And then there is an art and that's hard to describe. And the agents cannot, we can't just say, hey, Claude, you can say, Claude, go make me a World Cup model. It's not it can't do it. What we're doing, it just can't. There's too much nuance there and it has to move every minute, every second of the day. If something happens, it needs to change. So that's what we're doing.
Speaking of things changing, prediction markets have obviously become a big disruptor in the space. And as far as those markets are as live as you can be. In and out, people can get in and out. How has that changed your business or added to your business or?
Yeah, it's great for our business because it gives another place for some of our folks, there are certain sports books that will limit you if you win. Prediction markets won't.
Sure.
So that's fantastic for us. And it's another avenue for people to take our predictions that our models are making and go get a better price. And it's not another thing that we really love about it is there's agency with these prediction markets. You can go place a bet and you can get out of that bet when you want to, when it makes sense for you versus waiting for a pop-up cash out to come all day long. You can get in and get out. So it gives the person agency, and we believe in, and we love that. And it allows them for people to use our modeling in a very different manner. So they don't even need to wait for outcomes. They can get in and get out. They don't need to wait for a cash out. So the agency is there, the prices are there. And our hope is they continue to, which they will, have more player prop bets available.
I'm going to touch on props in a second, but before I do, the idea of who is your, I don't want to say main customer, but I mean, are you building this out more for someone who's trying to take this very seriously as opposed to someone who says, I want to bet a home run prop tonight. Let's see what's cooking.
So our goal is to be for the masses, but you can't build a company you can't say, I want to build this for the masses. You have to bring that down to reality, start with the segmentation, and then build from that segmentation. But the goal here is to get it to, we really want an everyday sports bettor to have access to this and to feel confident in this and to understand this and to be responsible. And we're not giving out locks and all that. That's not who we are. What happened was when we really last year was our big commercial launch. Like the year before we launched and we were wonky, we had latency issues. And I said, I don't care. We're getting it out there. We need to see willingness to pay. We know we're going to lose people because of our latency issues. We had to fix those things, which we did. But who cares? Let's just get it out. Let's learn. And then we'll put a lot of marketing dollars towards it this past September. So we did. And we thought originally, okay, we're probably going to get more advanced users because we're not there yet with simplicity, which is fine. And then we'll keep just simplifying it down without losing any, obviously, integrity, just more of a UX UI situation. But what happened was we had so many casual and rec bettors come to us. And honestly, Jeff, like we were not ready for that because we didn't have the simplification there yet. And we're still working, like we're coming out with something pretty incredible. We have a lot of people that are pretty advanced sports bettors, you can imagine, that understand modeling, understand variance, understand process, but 80% probably of our users now are recreational, however you want to describe yourself. We have a feature coming out that's going to simplify it more because we still are there's still some complexity to what we have.
Right. Well, I guess which kind of leads into another question here. It's a crowded space, right? From like just, touts shooting off their mouth and saying names to, a lot of data, a lot of heavy companies, heavy in data. It's crowded. And I can't imagine that we're gonna pop our eyes open in 10, 15 years and have 300 or 400 companies doing this kind of stuff. So why should someone be picking you guys as like their go-to source for this kind of stuff?
Well, we're doing predictive modeling, and we're not just taking data and making graphs and doing trend analysis, right? We're doing predictive modeling. And so a couple things that people have access to that they don't at other of our competitors or in this space. You can get a predictive model that you can build, and then obviously it's back tested, and you can see if you built something that's really good or really bad, and you can try it again if you'd like to. You can get pretty in depth, or we've created it where you don't have to get so in depth. So it's again, there's agency there for what type of model you would like to create and back test and see if you can build a model layered on ours. Number 2, we build models for you. And number 3, you can go on our leaderboard and copy a model that has been fantastic. So let's say, Jeff, you create a model and it's killing it on spreads. It gets there, it has to reach a certain ROI, a certain minimum number of bets. It'll reach the leaderboard. And then if I'm like, oh, I need a model that's great with spreads. Oh, this guy Jeff built one. I'm copying that. So this is where we really separate ourselves, is we feel we're an intelligence layer, we're a decision layer, and we're not just giving you 5 bets a day. You get the whole slate. You get the whole slate, and we caution bets. So there's also this real play of like, okay, we're going to show you every prop that's available. The model's going to find places where there's inefficiencies and where there's an advantage, and then if the model can't find that, it's going to caution that bet. But we're going to show the person why it's caution. It could be caution on price. It could be out of this model's sweet spot, and we're going to share that with you. So there's trust, transparency, and predictive modeling, and availability of every prop and every line on every game. And we really believe in that. So I think that's what separates us. We're not just doing trend analysis and saying, hey, last 10 or 20, here's what happened. Like, that's not predictive. That's helpful. It's context. We use that because the human needs that, but we're doing the heavy stuff. Trust me, some days I'm like, man, why did we choose the heavy stuff? This is complex. This is really complex back end.
Yeah, well, it sounds very complex. I mean, and without giving the secret sauce away, I mean, is there anything that you can tell us that is like, whoa, this is like, this is next level stuff that we're doing over here?
This is just some stuff that's in the model that from like an MLB. And this is like, again, we could be on here all day of what we have to go through to finally find the things that actually matter. There's tons of noise. You can imagine getting billions of inputs and then like, what is really statistically significant? How do we find that? And then you have to build it where it's recalibrating and every move the book makes or the prediction market makes, right? But like, okay, I'll just read some things that are in MLB modeling. Right? So we have opponent adjusted strikeout profiles. So it's strikeout tendency rates adjusted for opposing pitcher metrics, splits in game situations. We have opponent adjusted plate discipline, walk rate, hit by pitch, calibrated to the opposing pitcher, called command profile. And the game situation is baked in there. We have opponent adjusted contact quality. It's batted, ball hardness and expected damage on contact adjusted for opposing pitchers and the game state. We have a opponent adjusted hit and profile, hit and power profile. So it's singles, doubles, triples, home run rates adjusted by opposing pitcher, the park factors, the game situations. And then in terms of like game situations and stadium usage, like we have stadium adjusted power and distance profile. So home runs, extra base hits, fly ball carry rates calibrated to the park dimensions, altitude, fence dimensions, fair territory size. We have situational run prevention, where RBI allowed on tendencies, sacrifice exposure, double play, inducement, calibrated to opposing hitter tendencies, and obviously always the game situation. This gets incredibly in-depth and nerdy.
But do you have lefty-righty splits?
That's all baked in. Let me just tell you, we'll get Brian on here and he'll go crazy with you about here's what Matt, here we can't give out, obviously we'd be on it forever if we said, here's how we actually model, here's the secret sauce, here's how our good things, and here's right. But just to give folks this isn't just like, hey, let's get on ESPN stats, plug it into chat and say, build me a model. This is like really in depth and it gets very singular. Yes.
Does it, how often, if ever, does it happen where, what gets spit out is like surprising or shocking or like way, tail end kind of things?
It happens. Yeah, I can tell you as a user, I bet every day and as a founder, there are still times where I'm like, how did the model reach this? And what we like to tell people is like, look, if you don't like it, don't bet it. If it doesn't feel like, if you're not all in, some of our users are just all in, they're following the math, they're following their model, and they have no emotion about it. Fine. But if it's something that you're like not feeling comfortable about, or, we still want the human to be involved. So we're saying like, listen, we have betting intelligence for you to use it the way you want to use it. And yeah, there are definitely times where the model is surprised. It surprises you for sure. Where you're like, of course, Caitlin Clark's going to go over. You're like, and then it tells you take the under and you're like, ugh. A lot of unders the model's like, as you can imagine, because the books know that people love overs. So there's a lot of that too of like, hey, I'm getting a lot of unders. Why is the model always taking the unders? And we're like, because it's winning. That's part of this. The model has no emotions, doesn't care.
You mentioned that you're betting every day. You dropped Billy Walters' name earlier. Is this a lifelong love affair with gambling for you, or is it something that's newer?
No, you couldn't bet when you coached, and it was illegal. And so once it became, I'm not like an illegal person. So once it became legal, I was like, let me check this out. This is interesting. And like another buddy of mine was like doing it. And so then I was like, maybe we could just use our knowledge, and we started betting on the NBA. But now, obviously, I love it. I love betting on college basketball. I love betting on the W. College football is just like awesome. So I love it. I love having a little action. It definitely, just like, that's why people like, for most people, that's why they like it. Because it's like, okay, I got skin in the game. Let me watch this. There will be times where I'm like on the chat with, on a thread where I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching like Belmont right now. Or like, some other really bad team, but I'm like, I just like start giggling. I'm like, I'm watching some really bad basketball, but I'm having the time of my life because I've got the overs.
You brought up how you love betting on the WNBA. I feel that I've been dabbling in betting with the WNBA over the years. It feels like they are breaking through in a big way. Like, do you get that sense as well, or am I misreading it because I'm like watching it a little closer than most?
Well, here's what I can tell you about the W. We've done really well in the W, and it was intentional because it was like, okay, when we were building Rithmm, it was like, okay, we got to look at the highest handles and build those out. And then it was intentional to build the W first too, even though the handle was horrible. Because I was like, I was like, come from this, but we don't need to build out women's college basketball yet because we have to make business decisions, not passion decisions. But the business decision around the W was, it very much felt like the future is coming. We would like to be the first kind of there and be and understand the modeling of that sport. So we did that right out of the gate. So this is, our fourth year of modeling the W, and we have done very well modeling the W. I love watching it. it's B, we've been winning a lot, and that's been pretty cool to see. And so we'll see how the books catch up this year.
You don't strike me as someone who worries about things you can't control. A big part of your product obviously is props, and there's always like this drumbeat behind the scenes of legislatures and people saying we got to ban these props, especially in college sports. I personally don't see that happening, but it seems like an easy place to attack if you're a state legislature or something like that. Is there concern in your company about the idea of props disappearing from menus, or is it something that, again, it's out of your control and so you're just going to build and keep going?
Yeah, so we specifically didn't build collegiate level player prop. So we don't have that because we were like, we didn't want to touch it. We were worried about we were worried about regulation. They should do something. We're happy to have them do that. So we just said, not what we're doing. So we are not involved in collegiate level player props. Now pro level player props, my thing is always like, I just am like, it's out of our control, but B, there are some things that are just, the train is taken off, and no matter how much you hear noise about it, like I'm always like, try to pull that back in. Good luck. Like that would be fascinating. I don't know. So I'm kind of like looking at things like, is the train so far out where retracting it is it a lot of noise, and then just like the train is not coming back? But we like I said, we don't do collegiate level player props, and we won't do them.
Do you think that there shouldn't be collegiate level player props?
Yeah, I think that they should not have collegiate level player props.
Mm.
I don't agree with, I think they should be on the board. We could be on here for an hour talking about that. I think like this is not, I know that NIL out now, it gets a little complicated now because I can't say like, hey, these aren't pros, like these are kids, but they're kids in the pros now, but these kids are now making $5 million, not a lot of them. So that's like the point of it. It's like, we're still at this level of like, how many kids go pro in collegiate, sports? Not a lot. How many kids are really getting big NILs? We always hear about one, not a lot. So then it's the next level. And I think that gets people can get to them in a different manner than in the professional league. It's not, they don't think of it as much as a risk as like, oh, this is my profession. I'm a baller. I'm a sixth person on the bench. Somebody gets to me. I mean, I think it's dangerous. So I'm not a big fan of it.
I used to be, let the games play. We should be able to bet on this stuff. I'm an adjunct professor at a college. It's a Division I college, and I had some basketball players, and I asked them, men's, and it's not a huge program,
right?
And I said, how often do you get approached? And they said, yeah, all the time they get approached, like to miss a free throw or and so that it's, listen, I'm not above it all, because when I think back to my 20-year-old self, if somebody offered me $25,000 to miss a free throw, you know what? I'm going to miss a free throw.
This is what I'm saying. I don't judge these kids at all. I think it's really hard to say no to what would be coming at them. And they could justify it in their head, like, I'm not throwing the game. I'm just, there's just so many justifications you could make, at that age, with that money, with I don't know what their situation is. I'm with you on this. And it is, let me tell you, it's been going on for it's been around.
So even when it would be pre-PASPA, when you were coaching and at the women's level, was this something that was on your radar?
No women, because we weren't on the board.
Right.
There were no, you couldn't bet on women's college basketball unless, sure, if you had a book, but they weren't on the board. So, but on the men's side, I was friendly, obviously, with all the men's staffs, friendly with we were friendly with the men's team. So I knew all the guys, and the stories were crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Back to the business side for a second. You guys have raised, I have $4.5 million over a few rounds of funding. If correct me if I'm wrong.
We raised a little over 8.
8. So I stand corrected. What does Rithmm need to look like in the next few years to justify the next raise? And also, is there an exit here? Do you see an exit to this company? Is it a sports book purchase, or is it merging with another company in the same space, or what's the long-term play here?
A couple things. So kind of moving forward, and it segues great into Nigel. So you were talking to Nigel on their last pod, and you made a comment of hey, I would love something that I could say, is Bill Smith going to run over 100 yards? And then, hey, I'd like Bill Smith, give me a parlay with Bill Smith in it, and then give me the best line available. And I'd love to be able to talk into something. And That's where we're headed. And our first V1 is coming out very soon, where it will do exactly what you talk. I was like, oh, this is exactly what we're building right now. And it's incredible. And it's Scout. We're calling it Scout. It's basically an AI. It's another AI layer of more of an LLM, if you will, but it's proprietary in the sense of like, you can ask it, hey, Scout, go find the best spread model in the entire Rithmm ecosystem for the NBA. What's it on tonight? Wow. Fantastic. Now you've just checked into, we have hundreds of thousands of predictive models running. And now you just don't get what you have in your individual. Now it opens up to an entire ecosystem. And then you're like, okay, is Bill Smith going to run over 100 yards tonight? What's the projection? And let's say it says, yes, it's the over, here's is. And then literally it's just kind of going through, would you like us to build you a 3-leg parlay around him? And then boom, you pop up. So then it literally says, do you want us to send this to the book? And then all the odds pop up with the parlay and where the best numbers are. And then it's one click and you're there. Voice activated is something you raised. We're not to voice activated. That's kind of on the V2. So we're gonna do the V1 version where you're asking Scout to do all of these things for you in a proprietary manner within the Rithmm community. And then V2 is really where we want to go. When you said voice activated, I was like, that is where we want to go, and we will get there. What we love about where we've left people with Rithmm is like, we build these models, they make predictions, we give you a green star recommended bet, we give smart signals, we give cautions, we show you contextually trends if you'd like, things in that nature. Where we've left you short is the why behind, why does the model like this, and the context around it. And now what we're coming out with this new tier of like, if you want in and you want to see why and you want to have the confidence to get behind it, you want to be able to talk about it, or just get your mind around it and do more research at your level, you can keep going or you can just stop. It's going to be there, and it gives you access to every model in the system. It's like we've been working on this. It's been a vision for a while. The vision was on paper. Now we are starting to test it this weekend with we're going to get 25 to 50 users and have them do a run through, and then we'll start to open it up to more people and kind of a slow rollout. And then for NFL, we want it to be ready to rock and roll. It just has simplified everything and made it more intelligent. And you can do that now.
For me personally, at least, I think that is like where sports betting makes the leap to the next level, where I want to be able to pull up my phone and say, literally, Billy, who do we like tonight? And Billy says, we love the White Sox. And I could stop there, or I could say, Billy, why do we like the White Sox? And he's like, well, because of these 3 reasons. And I could keep going deeper and deeper, but it's like having a conversation with somebody at the bar. It makes life easier. And if AI was built for anything, that's where we're headed.
Yeah, Jeff, I can't wait. Honestly, when you said that, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to talk to him. I can't believe that's coming after the show. We are building this. All of our, we've done so many, we have so many consumers. We've done so many interviews, and that's where they're you. That's what they want. They want simplicity. And then they also want, when they need more context at their own space, like you said, when I want to ask the why, I want it there. Or if I just want to hit this, I'm at the bar, the game's about to start, what do we got tonight? It's right there. I don't have to sort through anything. I can just ask it and have it tell me. And then obviously the next move would be, do you want it to place the bet for you? But we can't get into that right now. But that, obviously that we're headed there, but not right this second.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, I hate to use this platform for my own career, but if you're ever in the market of a C-suite level executive, just to tell you about the average schlub in the street, what he's looking for, I could be that schlub, chief operating schlub, COS. Create a new job for me.
Hired. Let's go. Onboarding tomorrow. Onboarding starts tomorrow.
Love it. Megan Lanham, thank you so much for joining us. The site is Rithmm. I'm expecting further big things from you guys, so I can't wait to see what you have up your sleeves.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's been a great pleasure.